Good evening, morning, whatever it is for you. My name is Cheryl Pauls, and I'm delighted to welcome you to Spring at CMU, the virtual edition. Canadian Mennonite University is a learning community, and we gather in person and over screen in the goodness of God the Creator. We learn and we live in the gifts of all who entrust CMU with its mission, and collectively we live it out as students, staff, faculty, friends, alumni, congregations, and extended communities. We also learn and live in the goodness of lands, waters, and relationships of Treaty 1, as they were covenanted before Creator God in 1871. And we honor the hospitality extended by Anishinaabe, Cree, and Dakota First Nations to strangers who were settling in their midst. We long for reconciliation and commit ourselves to living into its call. CMU is a learning community that is moved and transformed by the life and teachings of Jesus Christ. And together we pray, Lord, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. These words take many forms. In the song Deep River, they're expressed this way, as a call to the gospel feast, where all is peace. Now, the CMU Singers gave voice to that longing in February 2020, just before a deep pause was placed on all of our singing and feasting together. Let's take heart in listening to that song. Now, as you watched or maybe hummed along about the gospel feast, did you spot any good scientists in the choir? What is a good scientist? And how do you learn to be one? Science at CMU, our feature this year. CMU does good science and produces good scientists by doing fine, sound, deep work in the classroom, in the lab, in the forest, and on. CMU also does good science and produces good scientists by bringing arts and science into conversation together, by bringing the Bible and biology together, mathematics and music, and on. But don't just take my word for it. Let's talk with some students becoming scientists. We'll begin with Thalia. Now, Thalia, I have often heard you exclaim, "I love math," and that's so countercultural. Most people say they hate math, or else just they kind of admit that they're afraid of it. Why do you love math? Why do you think more of us should love math, and especially studying it here at CMU?
Studying math is really awesome because math is in everything. So when we're studying math, we can study such a variety of things from semester to semester. And math changes the whole way you think because it's changing the way you reason through things, and it's forcing you to think critically and creatively and carefully, and helping us get away from some of our automatic brain functions that cause bias. And I really do just love math because it is always a challenge. It's fun and frustrating and constantly mind-boggling. I never know what's going on, and that's okay. And I love studying it here at CMU, where there's such a strong faith and learning community.
Now, Malcolm and Jaden, I understand that you are doing research projects with researching scientists, your professors, in the lab. And I know that some students are working in computational protein biology, some in circulatory tumors, and some in cell competition. And I understand you're doing cell competition. What is that? And when you say you're researching it, what are you actually doing?
Yeah, so we generally think of a body as being made up of a bunch of cells all working together to produce some larger function. But each cell is also an organism in its own right, and in some contexts, they can actually compete with each other for nutrients or resources or space. So the project we did last semester looked at a particular part of a fruit fly leg as it developed during pupation. And during this part of development, some cells are expanding and some cells are being compressed. And as they are compressed, we observed this strange, irregular sort of oscillation in the cell area. And we're looking into cell competition as a way to maybe explain those results that we found.
Okay, and now can you explain me a bit about why this matters?
Of course. So the particular type of cells that we were looking at are called epithelial cells. And epithelial tissue is one of the big building blocks of multicellular animals like us. And in humans, about 90% of cancer originates in epithelial cells. So learning more about this type of cell is important for all sorts of applications, including health.
Jaden, open a window for us into a class you've taken in science at CMU. How has it shaped you and stretched how you think?
One of my favorite courses that I've taken at CMU is actually one that I'm in right now, and it's the Senior Seminar in Evolution. This class gives senior science students the opportunity to present seminars to each other on topics that we're interested in that fall under the wider umbrella of evolution. So in this past semester, my classmates and I have discussed everything from human morality to the origins of life to the relationship between human health behaviors and the spread of some infectious diseases, which has been really interesting. Engaging in these discussions has pushed us to look beyond the facts that we're presented with in lectures and to think more about the implications that the science we know has in the real world. We can use this foundational science understanding that we've developed through many other courses and use this to inform our conversations in some very big and relevant and sometimes controversial topics that often include perspectives from a variety of different disciplines. And this has been something I've found really valuable.
And Levi, open a window into another class with something that has touched you and shaped your life and your faith.
One class that I've particularly enjoyed in my time at CMU is a class called Global Health with Dr. Rachel Krause. And in this class, we spent a lot of time talking about different risk factors that impact different populations of people around the world. And one of these risk factors that I found particularly interesting were the environmental risk factors. Now, when we think about mitigating these risks, we often think about a couple of things. Things like access to good water, access to good sanitation infrastructure, and access to good hygiene education. But one thing that's become particularly difficult to address is the impacts surrounding air pollution. And now we might think that, oh, that's a problem for the future, and we need to think about it, and it's important, but it doesn't really impact us quite yet. But already in 2012, the WHO estimated that air pollution contributed to about 6.7% of global deaths. So when we think about, as people of the church, contributing to a world in a way that we have a vision for, in a way that we believe in, it's really important to think about how we are stewards of the earth and how we do so as ways of caring for each other.
Thanks so much to everyone. I think I want to go take some science classes. It's been wonderful to hear students as they reflect during these early years of CMU's Bachelor of Science program. Let's now walk about campus and meet a few of our science professors. And then we'll get out there and meet some alumni who studied science here before we actually had the Bachelor of Science program. Who are these alumni? What do they do? And what do they care about?
Hi everybody, my name's Tim Rogalski. I teach mathematics. Let me show you what the classroom teaching looks like this year.
Hi, I am Nicolas Malagon, and among other things, I teach cell biology at CMU. Among my teaching passions is opening students to some really interesting and important research, a unique challenge for undergraduate students.
My name is Candice Vidal, and I teach chemistry and physics. One of the courses I'm teaching this semester is physical chemistry.
Hi, my name is Rachel Krause. I teach biology here at CMU. Among other things, I teach a lot of ecology, and we're very fortunate to be right next door to the Assiniboine Forest, which I like to think of as an extension of our classroom.
I am in my final year of biosystems engineering at the U of M, and for the past year I've been working in Madison, Wisconsin at a nonprofit called Forward Biolabs.
Yeah, so I am working on my Master's of Science at the University of Waterloo. I'm almost done now my program there, where I study the behavior of endangered bats on Prince Edward Island.
I'm a rural mixed animal veterinarian in northeastern Alberta. This means that my days always look different, but every day I provide care for many different creatures, regardless of species.
So I'm at the end of my 4 years of my medical school degree here at the University of Manitoba downtown. I'm in the process of graduating. That'll be done in May, and then I'll be moving on to my residency program, hopefully here starting in July.
So even though I'm in biosystems engineering, it could be medical, like the people there doing cancer research, but it also could be food development. Like, you use a lot of the same skills.
Well, what's not to love about bats? They show up at Halloween, they show up in vampire movies, they show up in the news for rabies, and none of those things match the genuine wonder or excitement about holding a bat that fits, in the palm of your hand.
I'm constantly being challenged, I'm constantly learning. What you learn in school doesn't really prepare you for all the ideas people are going to have in the world, and being able to support this innovation that could make big impacts on the world is really exciting to me.
But on a very fundamental, how to brighten people's lives, I think it really matters to talk about bats and worms and fish and all kinds of things that, go unnoticed.
I've had an opportunity to work with the advocacy committee here to sit down with community members, people of different backgrounds, and to ask questions about the things that are working for them in the healthcare system and the things that aren't. And then the wonderful opportunity to sit down with members of parliament here and talk about policy and go over how we can maybe change things or adjust things to go forward into the future.
CMU made a huge impact on me, and I always feel like it's put me one step ahead of the other students I'm in school with.
I mean, the first thing I think most CMU students will tell you is that it's not a one-track school. There's a lot going on across, a variety of programs, and then within those programs, I think students bring, a variety of experiences to the table. And, from a science perspective in particular, I think the term interdisciplinary gets thrown around pretty easily at CMU, but then when you leave CMU, you don't realize how big of a deal perhaps that idea and that philosophy is.
My time at CMU, I was fortunate to be part of a faculty there that was incredibly supportive of all of us, who worked closely to give us an opportunity to have a group of us that got to know each other really well, got to pursue things together, got to ask questions together, and got the supports that we needed to really pursue science in a way that I might not have gotten somewhere at another university with sometimes overwhelmingly large class sizes. And whether or not I would have been able to pursue science, it's more the question of would I have been able to get into the details and the personal questions and the things that I was really passionate about in the same way, which I think CMU afforded me a unique opportunity.
CMU, I learned how to be persistent, I learned communications, I learned writing, and especially at Forward Biolabs, because it's a startup and there's not as many people, I need to be proficient in writing technical documents. I need to be able to be putting out communications for the other member companies, as well as the public. I also, with my engineering background and the science I learned at CMU actually, because this lab is highly science lab based, it's very important and made me well-rounded overall.
And then when you look at the other part of my education at CMU, I was able to combine that science with a more social background, a background that was grounded in community and people and the way that we think and the way that we live in the world. I had an opportunity to pursue some time in sociology and some qualitative research there, as well as theology and psychology courses. And I think all of that together really combines to form a pretty unique experience that uniquely set me up for medicine. It's the exact combination of science and people that I'm working with now.
Because you're a small class and there aren't like 7 sections of your same course, the professors also have the opportunity to make things interesting and like try something new just because they want you to try it out and they want to try it out.
Science as a whole and research, it is a conversation. It happens best when it works across disciplinary lines. And I think that CMU looks that dead in the face and says, yeah, that's the way we want to do science.
CMU is uniquely positioned to cultivate students' learning in the scientific field. Its small size does not permit the development of insular faculties and instead thrives on collective integration. The potential to nurture students who are excited to explore, understand, and protect the physical world in the interests of serving that world as followers of Christ is perhaps the greatest distinction CMU Science program offers.
There's a story that's told in the Bible's opening lines, the genesis of a world created by God, a world called forward in the blessed refrain, and God saw that it was good. Now, when you spot a good scientist today, what convinced you that they're good? What does good mean? It seems such a simple word, yet what makes good good is a bit complex. It involves goodness seeping out and around from one thing to another. To be a good scientist means to be competent, credible, skilled, and insightful, to be good at doing science. And to be a good scientist means doing good through science, turning insights into wisdom, enabling goodness to seep out over the land. As a university nourished in God's good creation, this bit about goodness seeping out really matters for CMU, and we work at it through connections across all we do. For example, science studies are in dialogue with arts, humanities, social sciences, and more. and also alongside spiritual life, arts, athletics, residence life, commuter life, and career and vocation. At the crux of all these explorations, students become good scientists and also good journalists, good pastors, writers, teachers, business entrepreneurs, artists, politicians, farmers, and on. That's the explanation. Now, let's see more of what goes on at CMU from the inside. We'll move from music to the women's dorm this strange year, to glimpses of a just-in annual forum, where faculty whet students' appetite for the next year's courses. You'll see a few faculty actually cut off. At this annual ritual, a 75-second limit has teeth. Now just a bit on the music. Breathe by Leonard Enns and commissioned by our 1970 alumni class. The poem voices deep pain in the world today, when enough good, clean air is not available to all, when the call to anti-racism is urgent, the earth is groaning, when many are on respirators and dying from COVID-19, when all of us are masked most of the time and do not share airspace, and when a choir cannot breathe together in its collective sound. And yet the song goes on.
Hello there. Welcome to First Floor Potker.
Hello, my name is Clara Flores. I'm a third-year student at CMU, and this is my first year in apartments.
Oh, hello MTV, and welcome to my crib. This is room 3133 at Concord Hall.
First, we have Miriam in her natural habitat. Now, shh, we're entering the area of Zen.
Apartment living in pandemic time has made us all, I think, a little bit more, hopefully, very adaptable and a lot more committed, specifically because we're all taking online courses, we're living, we're sleeping, we're just being in one spot for a really long time.
Not much to see, it's pretty small, but you know, got my various stuff, my bed, fridge, a variety of things, my dinosaurs, record player, trusty old laptop.
Here we have Elizabeth. We like to call her the crazy crystal lady. And here's Lynn. I think she has a French test tomorrow.
It's given a whole new meaning to like getting out and making sure we're being aware of our mental health and all the supports. It's making us more intentional to connect with people, even though a lot of the times it will be through online meetings, so Zoom, or maybe just social distancing walks outside.
And finally, Rachel? Oh, Rachel, are you okay?
It leads to, I think, getting to know your roommate a lot more, and your roommate getting to know you probably better than yourself. And yeah, just getting very creative and having, intentional movie nights and game nights with your roomie or online, finding online ways to play Uno, which is a thing, apparently.
And I know I already mentioned the bed, but listen to this. That's all. Thank you.
That's us.
But yeah, it's been a year in pandemic.
Every Who down in Whoville liked artwork a lot, so they started a class where the topic got taught. And some were so thrilled they just stayed in their chairs like David, who never just once used the stairs. And Adam then also became rather lazy and loafed on the fields, making even God crazy. But God, being God, wore his heart on his sleeve and fed the man pizza and promised him Eve. The young and the old with the class were so thrilled that they soon stopped doing all things they were skilled at, like being a cook or a chef or a baker. Good thing they kept on giving thanks to their maker. And some got so carried away with a topic, they ended up doing some things rather gothic, like burning a barn or a house or a shed, but always ensuring dessert was then fed. And so, to all listening, the far and the near, I ask you quite humbly to lend me your ear and join me in class later on in the year. But don't be too literal in answering my ask, or you'll have a challenge in wearing a mask.
So I'm going to pitch my course. One of my courses titled Bible and Emotion. So for those of you who are wondering what this painting next to my face, right above my face, is doing, so a quick note on the painting. Picasso painted this painting called the Guernico as an anti-war painting, right? Now, each of those characters that you see in the painting represent how people felt about the war. Now, the story is told that a Nazi German officer viewed this painting by Picasso and came up to Picasso and asked him, "Did you do that?" And Picasso responded by saying, "No, you did that." Right? It was an emotional kind of response by Picasso, but totally on point, right? That kind of captures what the course is about, Bible and emotion. To be human is to be emotional, right? So we should not be surprised then that the characters of the Bible were also emotional. They were happy, but they were also angry, sorrowful, anxious, afraid, nostalgic, and so on. So the course really points to how in the Bible there is this full range of emotions that is expressed in public and religious life. And maybe in our own time, we will.
Hi, everyone. Here's my pitch for my course. I woke up this morning and read this tweet from my friend Fiona Lam in Vancouver. Very recent anti-Asian assault of longtime Japanese Canadian at UBC creative writing staff, hashtag Pat Rose in the West End near Barclay Street. Suddenly shoved to ground from behind, she will be pressing charges. Bystanders called 911. This was the headline. That was a tweet, and I'll give you a headline now that was in BC during World War II. Let our slogan be for British Columbia, no Japs from the Rockies to the seas. How far have we come, folks? Not very much, it seems. In my course, Asian and Asian North American Literature, we will examine a variety of work of different genres exploring the culture, the history, and yes, the racism too, in the written experience of poets, memoirists, novelists, and playwrights. Because ultimately, when we read the stories, we learn to love and respect each other. Thank you.
St. Francis of Assisi from the 12th century in Italy is famous for preaching, sometimes to birds. He was famous for caring for the poor, creating the first nativity scene, which was live, and for his radical devotion to Jesus Christ. Francis is also famous for a sentence that he neither said nor wrote: preach the gospel at all times, and if necessary, use words. At first, this may sound helpful, inspiring. The church's words about Jesus have often been problematic. Christians have named Jesus in coercive ways, in ways that oppress. Does postcolonialism mean that the church ought to act for Jesus, act like Jesus, but do so without speaking of Jesus? Should churches in Canada offer mercy and justice on God's behalf, but declare a moratorium on evangelism? And I think the topic of evangelism already gets pretty short shrift at CMU. On the other hand, isn't it less than human to refuse to talk about our life and loves? Can any of us know Jesus Christ, the risen Lord, if no one speaks about him? If these questions interest you, I'd love to have you join me this fall for the course Moving Beyond Church Walls. We'll meet once a month for a Friday and Saturday. We'll travel around Winnipeg so you can interview Christian leaders and ask them, how is the church moving beyond its own walls? And so we can explore how the church joins God's mission in 21st century Canada. Thank you.
Our Mother who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Is that okay to say? Didn't Jesus teach us to call God Father? Is it true that if God is male, then the male is God? You should take feminist perspectives on Bible and theology to find out. Is Eve really to blame for sin entering the world? Where was Adam anyway when this whole conversation with the serpent was going on? Maybe he's the weak link in the story. What are texts of terror, and should they be read in the church? How can a story of a man pushing out his concubine to be raped all night and then cutting her up into 12 pieces be the word of the Lord? You should take feminist perspectives on Bible and theology to find out. Are women saved by bearing children, as 1 Timothy says? What if you can't have children? And if Paul says women should be silent in the church, as he does in 1 Corinthians 14, why do some churches have women for pastors? Can a male savior be good news for women? Is the atonement divine child abuse? You should take feminist perspectives on Bible and theology to find out. Is feminism a white middle-class luxury? What is womanist theology? How about ecofeminism? Is feminism irrelevant if women are no longer discriminated against in Canada? Would more people take this course if the word feminism wasn't in the title?
Economic convergence is the underlying principle in economic theory and practice. It is a process in which poor countries catch up, economically speaking, with rich countries. Economic convergence helps to frame what we will be examining in this course, Economic Development, offered in winter term, Tuesday, Thursday mornings. Economic convergence is represented in the slide by richer countries like the US and the gold line. They've grown for many years, but are experiencing slower growth more recently. Meanwhile, historically poorer countries like China in red have a shorter history of economic growth and are rapidly growing so that they are converging to the wealth levels of the global north. So this course is going to do a number of things, including understanding these success stories. What has caused that success? We're also interested to understand those that haven't been successful, what happened for them. This course is also interested across the global South to understand how these economic changes affect society and especially the distribution of income. But as we know, this race to the economic heights is a major driver behind global climate change. So in this course, we will also do an environmental critique and reimagine economic change processes that are better aligned with environmental health. And I'm Jerry Buckland.
What do you want to be when you grow up? What are you going to do with your degree? I hate these questions. When someone is 3, answering unicorn or dump truck is cute. It's way less cute when you're 21 and the question is way more pressing. But by then, the belief is entrenched that by now you're supposed to know, to have figured out the perfect plan, to have discovered our calling and found your passion. First of all, what? Like, who invented that timeline? And second of all, no, that's not usually how any of this works. You can ask around. And yet you're carrying the pressure of society, maybe your family, most of all yourself. What are you going to do? Vocation, Meaning, and Work is a second-year W course that aims to help you figure it out using a life design framework. We'll deconstruct ideas about work, success, and vocation, analyze our stories and experiences, and develop a plan for your way forward in your studies and your life beyond CMU. You're the object of analysis in this class, and you can use it for 3 credit hours of practicum.
Now we're at the time in the program when we speak of gratitude and need directly. First, though, I honor a cherished colleague, Terry Schellenberg, who retires from the role of Vice President External on April the 30th. Terry's had a deep understanding of education as a vital expression of the church, and this has gifted us all immensely. This also will continue, even as he goes from here. Thank you, Terry. God bless you. And now for the task at hand. I'm honored to welcome board member Tamara Rohr.
Good evening. I'm Tamara Rohr. I have the privilege of sitting on the CMU Board of Directors and the pleasure of having 2 of my 3 children as students here at the Shaftesbury campus. Wow, there is so much good stuff happening at CMU, and it's great to hear directly from the students who have shared this evening about their experiences in the science program. I could go on and on gushing about how much I love and respect CMU, the institution, the faculty and staff, and the whole community. But tonight's program directors have given me just 2.5 minutes and told me I'm here for one specific mission. And that's to encourage all of us to give and give generously to make sure our beloved Canadian Mennonite University finishes off this fiscal year in a healthy position. Obviously, this has been a tough year for all of us. The pandemic has affected our school in so many ways. Every one of our faculty and staff has had to reach deep for the creativity and stamina to pretty much reinvent the way university education and university life is delivered to our students. And we can be incredibly proud of how they've done it. Delivering remarkable value, caring for the whole student, and as a community, leaning into God's faithfulness. A year ago, when we were just starting to realize how significantly the pandemic would affect our lives, and we were locked down to flatten the curve, our administration directed CMU into a different type of lockdown. They quickly yet compassionately flattened the curve on spending. Everyone helped where they could to find ways to tighten the belt. It's not the first time our university and the previous colleges have faced tough economic times. And like they always do, faculty and staff put the institution first. I have such tremendous respect for how CMU has met the challenges of the past year. I know that all of us gathered here tonight love and care for this treasure of a university that we get to call our own. Let's make sure that CMU ends this year in a healthy position. We need to raise $126,000 before the end of the month. My father often says of the Mennonite community and organizations like CMU that what we could not do alone, we could do together. Canadian Mennonite University proves this in so many ways. What 3 separate colleges could not do alone, they could do when they pulled together. And the funds that CMU might not be able to raise if they were working alone, we could raise because we've worked together. I've already surpassed my 2.5 minutes, but I hope I have fulfilled my mission to encourage all of us to give and give generously now and in the coming weeks, and to continue to hold CMU, the faculty and staff, the students, and the institution in our prayers.
Hi, I'm Rena, and I'm from BC. Thank you.
I'm Mike. I'm from Austin, Manitoba. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Ruby. I'm from Oregon. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm from Lanham, Saskatchewan, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Hi, I'm Jordan. I'm from Somerset, Manitoba, and thank you.
Hello, my name is Andres. I'm from Waltham, Saskatchewan, and I want to say thank you.
Hello, my name is Danica Workington from Pincher Creek, Alberta, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Hi, I'm Josh Gingrich from Waterloo, Ontario, and I just want to say thank you.
Hi, I'm Georg Neuhofer. I'm from Inglis, Manitoba, and I just wanted to say thank you.
My name's Miriam. I'm from Winnipeg, and thank you.
Hello, my name is Rosa Quintana, and I'm from Chihuahua, Mexico, and thank you for your donations.
Hi, I'm Chloe Friesen. I'm from Morden, Manitoba, and thank you.
Hi, I'm Bradley from Calgary, Alberta. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Katrina Langsabeth. I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I would like to say a huge thank you.
Thank you to everyone for sharing in spring at CMU and for your generosity, care, and goodness, the ways your lives seep all over the earth. I didn't make that phrase up. It comes from Psalm 72. And so I close with a blessing from that psalm. May you be as rain that falls on the mown grass, as showers that water the earth. In all your days may righteousness flourish and peace abound until the moon is no more. Amen. And we'll see you again at CMU.